They say late-night TV is built on laughs, but sometimes those laughs come with a sharp edge. And this time, it was Cher who wasn't having it. In a moment that's already taking the internet by storm, the legendary singer and actress found herself in an unexpected clash with Jimmy Kimmel. On his own stage, what started as a light-hearted chat quickly spiraled into one of the most talked about interviews of the year. Viewers could see it in her expression. Cher wasn't just playing along. When Jimmy pushed one question too far, she fired back with a comeback so sharp that the live audience gasped. Within hours, that clip was everywhere. TikTok edits, Twitter threads, even trending hashtags on Instagram. Fans were split down the middle. Was Cher standing her ground, or did Jimmy simply underestimate the queen of comebacks? But here's where it gets even more fascinating. This wasn't just about one fiery exchange on late-night TV. It raised bigger questions about celebrity respect, talk show culture, and how much drama audiences actually crave in the age of viral clips. When legends like Cher walk onto the stage, they carry decades of star power, and sometimes they're not afraid to remind everyone who's in charge. So what really happened in that explosive moment? Why did it send shockwaves across social media? And what does it tell us about the changing rules of Hollywood interviews? Let's break it all down. In the world of late-night television, most interviews are predictable. The guest comes in, the host cracks a few jokes, the audience laughs, and everybody goes home entertained. But every once in a while, a moment happens that cuts through the small talk and becomes part of the cultural conversation. That's exactly what unfolded when Cher, one of America's most enduring icons, sat down across from Jimmy Kimmel. At first, the interview seemed routine, Jimmy leaning on his trademark sarcasm, the audience waiting for Cher's playful responses. But then, the mood shifted. One particular question, delivered with the kind of smirk Kimmel is known for, didn't land as harmless banter. Instead, it hit a nerve. Cher, never one to back down, gave him a response that was sharp, unfiltered, and unapologetically hers. You could feel the air leave the room for a split second before the audience erupted. For viewers at home, especially those who followed Cher for decades, this wasn't just another celebrity spat, it felt symbolic. Here was a woman who has been underestimated and written off countless times, standing her ground against a host who represents the very machinery of late-night TV. For many in the 40-55-plus crowd, this clash echoed larger frustrations, a sense that mainstream media often plays favorites, that certain voices get dismissed while others are amplified. Within hours, the clip went viral. Twitter, Facebook, and even LinkedIn lit up with debates. Some praised Cher for calling out what they saw as disrespect. Others defended Jimmy, saying he was just doing his job as a late-night provocateur. The result? A cultural flashpoint where entertainment collided with deeper questions about respect, generational divides, and how much truth people are willing to hear on live television. Cher's reaction wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't polished PR. It was raw, it was human, and it reminded America why she has stayed relevant for more than half a century. For men and women who grew up watching her evolve, from the Sonny and Cher days to Hollywood blockbusters and Grammy-winning performances, this moment wasn't just about a TV show. It was about standing firm in your truth, even when the spotlight feels more like a microscope. And that's why this interview, unlike so many others, refuses to fade. It wasn't just Cher versus Jimmy. It was tradition versus change, respect versus ridicule, and a reminder that in an age of viral soundbites, authenticity still has the power to shake the room. The morning after the interview, it wasn't just entertainment outlets covering the fallout. Mainstream media, political commentators, and everyday Americans were all weighing in. What happened between Cher and Jimmy Kimmel had moved beyond the stage. It had turned into a flashpoint in the larger conversation about how we treat our icons, our entertainers, and even our public figures. For Cher's fans, many of whom have followed her for decades, the interview was proof of her resilience. Here was a woman in her 70s, still commanding respect, still fearless about speaking her mind. For older audiences, men and women in that 40 to 55 plus range, her response carried echoes of the debates they've seen play out in their own lives, standing up to authority, pushing back against dismissive attitudes, and demanding to be taken seriously, no matter your age or gender. But others saw it differently. Supporters of late-night comedy argued that Jimmy was simply doing what hosts have done for years, poking fun, stirring the pot, and generating those viral moments that keep younger viewers engaged. To them, Cher's sharp retort wasn't brave, it was overly sensitive. That's where the political undertone slipped in. Some commentators framed it as a generational divide, older Americans seeing the interview as a symbol of respect lost, while younger voices defended Jimmy's humor as just part of the game. On social media, the reactions broke down along those same lines. Facebook groups filled with long posts praising Cher's dignity. Meanwhile, TikTok edits mocked the moment, replaying Jimmy's smirk with ironic captions. Twitter threads turned the clash into a political metaphor. One side saying it showed how celebrity women are still underestimated in American culture, the other arguing it reflected a broader issue of people not being able to take a joke anymore. And perhaps that's what made this moment so powerful. It wasn't really about who won the exchange. It was about what people saw in it. To one viewer, it was a stand against late-night elitism. To another, it was just comedy doing its job. To many, it was a mirror, reflecting frustrations with media, generational divides, and the way America processes truth in a viral age. Cher didn't just clash with Jimmy. She struck a chord with America. And in the days that followed, her name was trending not just in entertainment feeds but on news sites and political blogs alike. For a culture already fractured along age, gender, and political lines, one interview became the lightning rod that reminded us, late-night TV may look like jokes and banter, but beneath the laughter, real battles for respect are being fought. By the third day, the clash between Cher and Jimmy Kimmel wasn't just a headline, it was everywhere. Clips of the interview were spliced into memes, reaction videos, and TikTok edits. Twitter threads debated every second of eye contact, every smirk, every comeback. But what really stood out was how the moment took on a life of its own, far beyond entertainment. On Facebook, where many older viewers gather, the reaction was fierce and emotional. Thousands of comments poured in from men and women who grew up with Cher's music, her movies, and her unshakable presence in American culture. They saw her response not as drama, but as dignity, an icon refusing to be diminished on live TV. She's earned respect, not cheap jokes, one post read, racking up tens of thousands of shares. For this generation, the clash struck a nerve about how society undervalues experience and history. Meanwhile, on TikTok and Instagram, the younger audience leaned into parody. Clips of Jimmy's smirk was set to laugh tracks. Cher's sharp words were remixed into dance audios. To them, it wasn't about respect or legacy, it was content. It showed just how wide the gap has grown between generations consuming the same moment but interpreting it through totally different lenses. Mainstream outlets weren't far behind. Some late-night defenders insisted this was proof that the format is still relevant, that controversy drives ratings. But critics argued the opposite, that moments like these reveal how outdated the late-night formula has become, with hosts relying on provocation instead of substance. For Americans in the 40-55-plus range, who've watched TV evolve from Johnny Carson's charm to today's viral clip culture, this felt like a turning point. And then came the political spin. Commentators on cable news used the interview as a metaphor. Four broader divides in America: respect for tradition versus the appetite for constant disruption. Was Cher's comeback a stand against cultural elitism? Was Jimmy's joke a symbol of media's disregard for established figures? Depending on which network you tuned into, you got a very different answer. The truth is, this wasn't just an explosive interview. It was a cultural Rorschach test. Everyone saw in it what they already believed about fame, respect, and power in America. And that's why the story wouldn't die down. It wasn't just about Cher or Jimmy anymore. It was about us, the audience, and how we define dignity in a world that rewards disruption over respect. As the dust began to settle, one thing was clear: the Cher-Kimmel clash had grown into something far larger than a celebrity spat. It became a case study in how America views power, respect, and the shifting rules of entertainment. And for viewers in the 40-55-plus age group, the message was especially striking, because they've watched both Cher and late-night television evolve for decades. Cher represents longevity. She's lived through every reinvention of American pop culture, from vinyl records to streaming apps, from TV variety shows to viral clips. To see her stand her ground against a younger, sharper, and sometimes smug brand of humor was more than entertainment. It was symbolic. It reminded people that experience and authenticity still matter, even in an industry obsessed with youth and ratings. Jimmy Kimmel, on the other hand, represents the machine of modern late-night, edgy, quick-witted, always chasing the next viral moment. For some, his style reflects the way media often prioritizes shock value over substance. And that, brother, is where the political undertone sneaks in. Many in America today feel institutions, from media to politics, treat them the same way. Not with respect, but with provocation. Cher's refusal to play along tapped directly into that frustration. What does this mean for the future? For one, it shows that celebrities who stand firm in their values resonate across generations. Older audiences saw in Cher's defiance a mirror of their own struggles to be heard in a fast-changing culture. Younger audiences, even if they mocked the moment, couldn't ignore it, because authenticity, whether they admit it or not, still breaks through the noise. And let's be honest, late-night television itself is on trial here. The format that once united families around a single screen is now fighting to stay relevant in the era of YouTube, TikTok, and on-demand streaming. When a guest like Cher steals the spotlight, it raises a question: are audiences tuning in for the hosts, or for the rare, raw moments when guests flip the script? In the end, this wasn't just about a celebrity defending herself. It was about the audience, about us, deciding what kind of culture we want. Do we want entertainment that provokes cheap laughs, or conversations that carry weight? Do we still value legends, or do we discard them for the next trending face? Cher versus Kimmel wasn't only a clash of personalities. It was a glimpse of the larger American struggle between tradition and disruption, respect and ridicule, authenticity and performance. And in that struggle, everyone watching saw a piece of themselves. At the end of the day, what started as just another late-night interview turned into a cultural flashpoint. Cher reminded America that respect isn't optional, it's earned, and it's defended. Jimmy Kimmel reminded us of the sharp edge of late-night TV, where humor can sometimes cut deeper than intended. For many viewers, especially those who've lived through decades of changing media, this clash wasn't just about two celebrities. It was about bigger questions: how we value legacy, how we consume entertainment, and how social media can turn one moment into a national debate overnight. Whether you sided with Cher, with Jimmy, or simply enjoyed the drama unfold, one thing is certain: this interview showed us the power of authenticity. And in today's world, authenticity speaks louder than any scripted joke. So, what do you think? Did Cher take a stand that late night desperately needed? Or did Jimmy just do his job as a provocateur? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear where you stand. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss the next big moment shaking up celebrity culture. Because in today's America, even late-night TV can feel like the main stage of politics, power, and public opinion.